I find that if I fold it like this or something similar, I can create a little bench for myself. I just put my sitting bones right there on the edge of the blanket, and that makes it really easy to keep the pelvis tilted forward just a little bit, and the back will stay neutral. Sitting up straight and tall with the feet flat on the floor, we're in a seated mountain pose. We can roll the shoulders back and down, letting the shoulder blades just slide down into their pockets that they live in. And then feel into the feet, the way they are just resting flat on the floor, and the toes. Maybe you could lift the toes a little bit, wiggle them, separate them, and put them back down, and see if it's possible to keep some length in the toes as they rest on the floor. Tracing your awareness up into the ankle. Perhaps let the feet roll side to side, feeling the way the ankles do inversion and eversion. This movement is very useful when we're walking and we accidentally step on something we didn't expect, or we step in a hole. If the ankles are strong and mobile, then we can adjust pretty quickly and avoid injuring ourselves. Okay, so then we can let the feet rest again and track attention up the shin bones and into the knees, feeling into the knees and the way they're bent. 90-degree angle here in this position. And perhaps lifting one foot and then the other, just getting a little bit of sense of the movement of the knee as a hinge joint. It mostly only goes in one direction like this, but we can also do a little bit of rotation in the knee, and we see that if we keep the feet flat on the floor. We kind of pin down the thighs a little bit and move just a little. You can see there is some give to the knee. There's a little bit of room for rotation there, and that's good. We'll come back to that knee rotation later. For now, tracking our attention up the thigh bones, we can just rest attention deep inside those bones, knowing these are the biggest bones in the body. Can you feel how dense they are, how long they are, and heavy? And then can you track the line of your thigh bone all the way into the hip socket? All the way into the hip socket. Take a deep breath all the way down into your pelvis. And slowly release your breath. Slowly. And if it's possible, see if you can be aware of your pelvic floor lifting on the exhale. Relaxing on the inhale. And lifting on the exhale. Just a very gentle to and fro movement. Almost like a parachute. If you've ever done the parachute play, where they have a big multicolored parachute with handles and people lift it up and bring it down. That's kind of like what your pelvic floor is doing. And so I'd like to invite you to imagine you've put something in the middle of that parachute. What is it? And can you sense it lifting on your exhale and then kind of floating midair in the space between the inhale and the exhale? We'll come back to more pelvic floor awareness later, but for now we'll bring awareness into transverse abdominis, the muscle that runs across the bottom of your belly right here. And if you like, you can place your hand there. We're going to practice breathing into that space and then exhaling to pull that muscle in. Very gentle pull, very gentle muscular contraction here. There shouldn't be any sense of tension in the low back as you do this. And if there is, just know that it's a pattern. Patterns can be undone with practice. And for extra credit, you can try lifting the pelvic floor and pulling in transverse abdominis all together on the exhale and relaxing on the inhale. And for now, we'll release effort from the breath and track awareness up the spine, up from the tailbone, which is technically part of the spine, up into the sacrum. And we can maybe do some pelvic circles, just sitting in the chair, feeling the way your sitting bones can move across the blanket underneath you. Perhaps that even feels like a little gentle massage. And then feeling the way your pelvis tilts back and forward. And feeling the way your abdominal muscles participate. And perhaps it's even possible to sense a little bit of release in the low back when we do this. We can reverse direction. And finally, we can add the rest of the body if you're feeling like that's a good idea, with the upper back and the neck, rotating the head. And then we'll reverse direction again, because we didn't get a chance to do that fullness of movement before. Just feeling into that, and perhaps one direction feels different. Good, and then spiral inward. Your circles getting smaller and smaller until finally settling into stillness in the center. I'm so sorry. I can't even figure out how to make the call go away. Okay, it's gone now. That's weird. My phone's supposed to go on Do Not Disturb when I put it like this, but it's not working. So I'll have to figure out a solution for that later. Okay, so feeling into that center of stillness, we're going to start doing just a few shoulder circles, warming up the tissues of the shoulders and the shoulder blades. becoming aware of all the little delicate pieces involved with the shoulder. We have the collarbone in the front, is actually a really important part of your shoulder. And then we have shoulder blade and the shoulder blade muscles behind you, the muscles that pull the shoulder blades towards the spine. And then if you squeeze your shoulder blades together, you can feel those. And then if you keep your shoulder blades squeezed and then bring your shoulders down away from your ears, you can feel some more muscles that are a little lower. And these are your lower trapezius, and they're responsible for pulling the shoulder blades down, leveling out, balancing out the force of your upper trapezius muscles, the ones up here that try to do all the work all the time, and that's why they get so tight. So if we reverse the direction and go in forward circles, we can feel all those same muscles, but in a slightly different way. Good. And then one last roll back and down, and we'll start thinking about shoulder rotation. So if we move the arms like this with the elbows in at the sides, we've really isolated the rotation in the shoulder, the rotator cuff. And if you pause here in the external rotation position and just give a little extra push towards the wall behind you, you could feel those muscles a little bit more, and then we'll release that. So this is a good way to increase range of motion, just running up against your limit and holding there and pushing against it a little bit, but only if it doesn't hurt. If there's some tissue irritation there, you could make it worse. So we'll always wait for a day when that feels nice. And then we're going to do that just one more time. And then we'll bring the hands up like this. So we're in a cactus position. And we'll try rotation here. And the same idea, we come into that external rotation position and push a little bit extra, and then come down. Okay, and we'll release the arms, just trying to kind of shake them out a little, and we'll move on to the wrists. So we can make fists and point the knuckles down and up, kind of like we're riding a motorcycle. And trying our best to keep the elbows in and only allow movement in the one joint, the wrists. And we'll hold in the down position for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then we'll hold in the up position for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, next we're going to go side to side. This one's a lot harder to get the wrist to just move without moving any other part of the arm. Okay, and we'll hold on the inward position for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and the outward position. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then we can make circles as big and slow as you possibly can. Only moving from the wrist. Reversing direction. Okay, and then that is loud. I'm going to turn that down. Shaking them out. You can stretch the fingers. Ooh, yeah. These days, most people do a lot of computer work, yeah? And so that mouse hand, man, gets so tight. Okay, and then we'll do the other side. All right. So let's explore the neck. We can just start with really small movement of side to side. Feeling into how much is enough, how much is just the right amount to stretch what is needing to stretch and not putting pressure on things that are not meant to move. Okay, and then we'll come back to center and try chin down. Rolling it down as far as it's appropriate for your particular neck, and then rolling up. Perhaps even pointing the chin up, stretching out. That makes me cough every time. Stretching out the trachea and the thyroid. Okay. Okay, so then if you like, we can do head circles. And Eli, what I'd recommend is just a little kind of bobblehead circle, so you're getting movement right at the top of the spine. Keeping mobile where there is mobility without putting extra pressure on things. Is that okay? And then reverse direction. Okay, and then we can try a little rotation of the head. Going to where the maximum rotation is and just pushing against it. Maybe even up and down with the chin. That can help loosen up some things in the neck. And Eli, you're not going to push against your end in this one or any of the neck ones. You know that already, I'm sure. Okay, and then coming back to center, we'll do a really gentle massage for the scalp, just with the fingertips, scratching from the hairline back. Waking up the neurons that live underneath the skin there. And then at the back of the neck, such a good feeling. Okay. Now, we need to really get into the hips, I think, today. So, with the feet together in front and the knees together, if that's possible, we'll cross right leg over left at the knee. Can you do it like that? Just do the best you can. And then, yeah, it's pretty tight. So we'll go forward and back. Just feeling into the stretch that we get when we do that. This is particularly targeting kind of this area of the hip, this part of the leg, and the pelvic floor. So one of the things I'll direct your attention to is the sensation of the pressure of your leg pressing into your bladder. Can you feel that? And if you do, see if you can allow that pressure without pushing against it. And if you breathe, does your body automatically want to push against that pressure? It's something we do to neutralize the sensation. So working on consciously allowing that sensation of pressure to be present without pushing against it is a mindfulness practice, uniting mind and body together. Telling the nervous system, we don't have to react to everything. We can just relax and let things happen. This particular sensation in the body is a safe sensation. There's no danger. And we'll come back up. Uncrossing the legs, we'll try just a little bit of rotation, open and closed. Feeling into the hips. Yeah, go as fast or as slow as you like. And I'll give you a couple more moments to really feel into that and go with your breath, opening on the inhale and closing on the exhale. Okay, good. So next we can try same leg, the figure 4 stretch. So we're going back to the right leg again. Yeah, same leg. And we're going to lean forward on that. And this time there's more rotation in the knee and more rotation in the hip. So I can hold here. Slow exhales. And we can add some ankle circles while we're here. Reverse direction if you haven't already. Okay, good. And then we can come back up, uncross, and we'll try a little forward bend before we do the other side. So just keeping the back straight with the elbows on the thighs, and we can drop the head, and that might just give you a stretch all the way up the spine. And take a big breath here and allow your wings to spread out behind you as you inhale. Good. So we'll come back up and then we'll try the other side. This time we'll do figure 4 first. So crossing the left leg over the right, leaning into the hip, and we'll start the ankle circle. Reverse direction. Okay, good. And then we'll sit up again, cross at the knee if possible. It's a little easier on that side. Yeah, totally normal. Okay. Yeah, so we'll do this leaning forward and back again, just feeling into the stretches and the tissues and the pelvic floor here and the bladder. hold if you're wanting to hold today. Again, using the feedback of pressure on your bladder as a tool for mindfulness. If you end up doing this practice at home, it can be useful to do it with a little bit of fluid in your bladder if it's tolerable for you. This way we can start to build resilience in the bladder and a little bit of stretching of the bladder wall and retraining of the nervous system, retraining the way we interpret various levels of fullness in the bladder. And then also strengthening the tissues around the bladder to support it, so that every time it starts to fill, it doesn't feel like it's completely out of control. And then we can come up, uncrossing the legs. We need to do a little side bending, so we're going to try a variation of extended side angle pose. So you're going to come kind of up towards the front of your chair and then to the side corner, putting your right leg out to the side, yeah. And then other leg can come out here as far as, it's all right, as far as you're comfortable. And then we just lean over. So the whole point of this one is leaning over. Don't worry too much about like where the legs are, but we just want to feel a little stretch here. And we can add to that stretch if we lift the arm a little bit. And take a big breath into the left side of your body. And let it out slowly. Nice and easy. Try to get your right shoulder down away from your ear. And on every exhale, pull your belly button in, lift your pelvic floor. Good, and then we'll come up and we'll try gate latch pose. So this time we're going to put the left leg out to the side. And to warm up for this pose, we want the toes pointing forward. Yeah. As much straight out as you can. This is going to strengthen the tissues here in this part of your hip, which will help stabilize the SI joint. And then we can press the foot down into the floor and really feel those muscles coming on. Okay, and while we're doing that, let's try to stand up straight and tall. Straight and tall and relaxed. Open and ready for anything that comes my way. I'm confident and I trust that the world will only bring me things that I can handle. One more breath here. And then we can lean over that right leg. And sometimes I need to back up. Let's bring the right leg forward slightly. Turn the toes up and then lean over. Make sure you have a little bend in that knee, protecting the knee. And this is strengthening for the hamstrings down here and for the hips, and also stretching here, using the core to stabilize. We could even turn the palm up and use wisdom mudra, joining the thumb and forefinger. I am strong and resilient. When things go sideways, I can respond in the appropriate way for each situation as it happens. And we'll come on back up. Come to the center. Take a break with that forward bend. And I'll give you more options this time. So the way we did it before was just really simple like this. If you know you have more mobility in your back, you can bring your belly all the way onto your thighs and drop your head in your hands. This is a good way to get some traction in your back. Dropping the head if possible. Breathing into the spaces that are now opening up between your vertebrae. And on the next inhale, we'll come back up. And we'll move over to the other side of the chair. So first we did, I'm not actually really loving this blanket right now. It's too slippery. We did the extended side angle pose. So opening the legs and then leaning over the left leg, making sure that shoulder's down, and if it feels right, adding that upper arm to stretch out. Imagine length between your right hip and your right shoulder, and every time you inhale, that length gets longer, your ribs separate away from each other a little bit more. And on the exhale, that length is maintained. Pelvic floor is lifted. The core is gently engaged. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. We can come back up and bring right leg in front, left leg out to the side. Pressing down into that foot. Yeah, you got it. We can press down into that foot, sit up straight and tall. Open, ready, and willing to respond, to serve anything that we are called to do. And then we can scooch the foot forward slightly. This makes it possible to rotate from the hip, bringing the toes up. Another bend in the knee here. Really important. Without that bend, we're just putting too much pressure on the knee when we lean over. So we can lean over and bring the other arm up and around. And if your neck allows it, you could even look up at your hand here. Keeping your chin tucked as you do that will help you to strengthen your deep neck flexor muscles. Stabilizing the neck. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We'll come back up. And we'll do that forward bend one more time. Okay, coming back up, we're going to do some standing work, and I recommend taking off the shoes, the socks, I mean.
Sorry if we leave them on?
Yeah, that's fine. And you'll need a block, and we'll come over. So the first thing we'll do is stand in mountain pose with the block between the thighs. And the chair's here for balance if you need it, and if you don't need it, then you don't use it. It's just no big deal. So we're going to exhale and sink down into a squat, bending from the knee here, keeping the toes and the knees pointed forward, and then coming back up. Darlene, you can bring your feet a little closer together. Good. And so when we do this, this is actually really good for this SI joint because it's training hip, knee, ankle alignment and how to use that whole part of your body as a cohesive unit with stability and without a lot of wobbling from side to side. So we're going to try that a few more times, sinking down into a squat only as far as you can go with comfort, and then coming back up. There was a time when this pose was very painful for me, and so literally I would come to about here, pause for a moment, and then come back up. So really give yourself lots of space for grace here. Imagine the bones of your pelvis and your sacrum moving in a perfect alignment with each other, completely stable, no wobble. Okay, and we can add a little bit of upper body work with this as we inhale, coming up, bringing the arms up overhead, perhaps joining the hands, perhaps looking up, and then exhaling back down again into that squat. Inhaling up, exhaling down. We would try to do this move so that it feels like your back's getting a massage, not like your back's being hit by a truck. That would not feel good. Okay, and Eli, you might try pointing your toes forward. Yeah, it's gonna feel weird, but it's good for your alignment. Yeah. So now I'll invite you to hold this if it feels right for you to hold today, and admittedly, I still have a limit to my ability to hold this pose. So I'm gonna stay kind of high here. You can think about your pelvic floor and your core muscles here. You can also think about lengthening your entire spine by lifting your head like a turtle coming out of its shell. And as you do that, the shoulders come down away from the ears, lengthening out the sides of your neck. And then we'll come back up. I know, it's a lot. And we're done with the block for now. So just take a second to shake out your legs. Maybe even do a few standing hip circles. And some cat-cows. One last movement here, and this is going to be a one-legged standing pose, so the chair is always there for your balance. We're just going to lift the right leg out to the side, but keep the toes pointing squarely forward. So when you lift that leg, you can really feel these muscles right here. And then we can lower it down. And we'll do that a total of 5 times with a micro bend in the standing leg knee. 4, 5, and this time we can hold if that feels right. And you might even try putting your hands on your hips, holding that leg out to the side. Now we're really feeling both hips. Yeah? Good. And then we'll come out of that. We'll do some more hip side to side, stretching them out. And then we can try the other side. So starting in mountain pose with the toes facing forward, roll your shoulders back. Feel your tallness, your entire height lifting up from your feet, and feel that center of stillness that we explored earlier. And then we can shift the weight of the body onto the standing leg, lift the opposite leg out, toes pointing forward. We really want to feel the hip there. And we'll do that 5 times. Good, and we'll hold that. Maybe even putting hands on hips. Okay, and then we'll come back down. Shaking, shaking again. Okay, coming around to the seat again. Let's stretch those hips one more time, starting with the right leg in the figure 4 position, just leaning forward and pressing the elbow down into the knee will help stretch a little more if you're open to that. And then I'll invite you to notice what it feels like to take your hand and put it on the bottom of the opposite foot. Creates like a complete electrical circuit joining right to left. And if you like energetic work, you can imagine the flow of prana in a circle up your leg, up the side of your body to your arm and down again. This helps to charge up your heart. We can try the other side. Okay, and then we can come out of that and find a comfortable way to be seated. We'll go into meditation. So if you want to really put some effort into strengthening your back, I'd recommend just coming to the edge of your seat, trying to perch there, and holding your back up with your own strength. But if you'd like to lean back, you can put a blanket over that bar, and that makes it a lot more comfortable to do that. So we're going to bring the focus into the pelvic floor again. Bring back that breath that we were doing with the inhale, the parachute moving down, exhale, the parachute moving up. And in the space between the exhale and the inhale, this sense of floating, this freedom and ease. So the breathing practice that we'll do today is going to involve extending the exhale. And it's perfectly normal to find this a very difficult thing to do when you're new at it. It's really counterintuitive. The body kind of starts to freak out and think, oh my God, I'm going to die. So breathe when you feel like you need to breathe. Very gently we expand those borders and those barriers. We don't try to just force the body to do something when it's not reacting well. That can create even more tension, even more suffering. So we can inhale deeply down into the pelvic floor and then exhale, lifting up that parachute. And at the end of your exhale, just notice how comfortable you are holding that out for a moment or 2 moments. Breathing in again when you're ready. at any moment you feel that you've lost the sense of ease, just breathe normally and re-enter the practice when you feel ready. And now release effort from your breath. Allow your breath to flow normally at its own pace. Just observing what there is to observe. Inviting the energy that lives at the bottom of your spine to travel upward through your belly, through your diaphragm, and into your heart. And then perhaps even up through your throat and into your head.